I've just read the third book in this 3-book series, The Battle. This is an English translation of a critically acclaimed French comic book, which in turn is an adaptation of a critically acclaimed French historical novel. The graphic novel and the book are about Napoleon's Battle of Essling in Austria in the 1820s. And that is a small battle, but it's a battle of note because A, it was the first time Napoleon had been defeated in 10 years. And secondly, it was a really brutal 2-3 day war. The city actually has a monument to, it became like a monument to the brutality of war. So in that respect, it's interesting from a historical point of view. But as far as comics goes, this is the first time I've ever had this much of a deep dive into the European format. I've been hearing for years how the European format is better. The books are better quality. They're more expensive, but they're not monthly. They take 2 or 3 months, but that allows the artistic teams to really get in and just create a superior product. But I had no real point of reference until now. And I really enjoy this. So this is going to be part review of the story and part review of just what I found interesting about this European format overall. So first, I enjoyed the size. I'm a big believer and a big lover of larger books. So this is the X-Men Grand Design Volume 1 Treasury Edition. And this is The Battle. So you can see it's much larger than an American comic book, which I like. And I also like the fact that the artist takes advantage of this real estate. You can do this type of dialogue and this type of action, and this attention to detail and this facial acting here in other pages. You can do that in a larger book, because if you did that in a smaller book, it would get too muddled, or you'd have to cut down the dialogue because it would be harder to read and it'd be smaller. It wouldn't work. You'd have to adapt it to a smaller format. But here, the work fits this large format, which I enjoy. One thing I really liked also was that the introduction on the first page was written by Patrick Rambaud, and I'm sorry if I mispronounced his name. He's the writer of the novel that the graphic novel was based off of. And he's talking about how he's excited that they're doing a graphic novel, that he put together a great team, that they're really excited. And it's just interesting seeing the writer be this excited and positive about a graphic novel. In the United States here, when somebody gets some of their works translated into a graphic novel, I don't know if they do any promo for it. I don't know if Stephen King actually did any promo from all the Dark Tower books that Marvel printed. It just seems more like an afterthought. But here, I know the French take comic books very seriously as an art form, but here it's just refreshing to see, like, hey, I want this to be good. So the book starts off Vienna 1809, and I just love, like I said, the art, the emotional acting. He's just yelling at this guy to do orders, and this guy's walking away giving him the side eye because he's upset. And just the acting and the art and the paper quality and the coloring is excellent. It takes advantage. It's not trying to do, and I like when a book is done that the panels fit the story. I don't like it when a certain artist says, okay, I do everything 8-panel grid, 6-panel grid, 9-panel grid. This is the way I do it, and I'm going to do every story this way. I like when there's a certain style, but I like when there's exceptions to it. Like here, you're just doing this long, wide shot here. Instead of splitting this 3 panels, you're doing this long, wide shot here from, panning back from these 2 men riding horses through the countryside. This book is also not shy about the violence. It isn't gratuitous, and it's not violence for violence's sake. But for instance, you just have these scenes of battle that look like just utter carnage. You have guys with swords, and there's this blood flying off of them. You have this scene where these French shoulders are dug in, and the Austrians are about to are right about on top of them, and these guys there's one cinematic one where they're all just staring like they know they're all expecting to die. And just carnage, guys flying off their horse, blood flying off of this, guys getting stabbed. This guy gets dismounted, this Austrian's about to kill him, and then he in turn is killed by a French soldier. It's just like the brutality and horrors of war. This doesn't glorify war. It's just, you look at this and you're like, oh yeah, this is a real battle, and these guys are fighting for their lives. I just found that to be more realistic than you see. Like I said, it's not trying to like glorify the war. It's just saying, and the violence is just, it is what it is. These are the second and third books, same quality, same great writing, same great storytelling, same great everything. What I liked also was the back matter. Each book runs about between 51 and 54 pages of story and art. The back matter for page 1 is historical notes. The back matter for book 2 is the anatomy of comic book page. So the artist talks how he went from like thumbnails to an actual pencil sketch. And this is a photo of the novel that the graphic novel is based on. And then here you have some character sketches, you know, this, which I find pretty interesting, their thoughts too. And then here's a little upcoming promo for another adaptation that the author of the novel and the writer of this comic are doing based on a novel by Patrick Rambaud of the Napoleon's campaign in Russia. And this is also going to be translated by Cinebook. And so I'm looking forward to that. And I also like how these are already done. And then the back of each book has like a picture of each one. Like, hey, book 1, book 2, book 3. And just, to me, it's smart as far as just advertising. Like, hey, this is what it looks like, because it gets you more involved. And then third is the final chapter. The Battle of Essling is over, and it takes place over that time and then actually ends a few months later, kind of showing you the horrors of war. But one thing that I did like was the back matter for book 3 was some of the main characters of the book, not Napoleon or anybody that's well-researched, but the other ones, like what happened to them after the war, which I found interesting, because the writing and the dialogue is done so well that you like some of these characters. You're kind of rooting for them. And it's just seeing what really happened to them in real life afterwards. And then also a 2-pager by the colorist on how he approached coloring all this. And some sketches for Berezino, which is the upcoming adaptation that they have. So, in my opinion, I wish more American publishers would do this type of approach. I think IDW is doing this by default or by design with The Last Ronin, because that book is $8.99. It's a prestige format. It's coming out every 3 months or so. Great story, great art. But I wish, in a way, the big two would like actually take a chance and do this at a large scale, because you get some top writer and some top artist and coloring and letterer, and you get them together and you say, okay, you're gonna do a Spider-Man book, let's just say, and it's gonna be every 2-3 months. It's gonna be large format, prestige, but it's gonna be awesome. And you do that up front. You know, I think there's a place for that. I mean, here, as I showed earlier, is the X-Men Grand Design, Volume 1. This is issues 1 and 2. Why couldn't you do this? I mean, I understand why, because the American business model and the fans are too ingrained in the monthly model to do anything. But it's like, this could have been done, maybe even a smaller size, but this could have been done as just one book. And then, or maybe book 1 could have been done as one book, and then book 2 could have been done as another book, larger format. I mean, I do have the individual issues. I understand why, but you almost kind of wish that they would take a chance on a character that will draw people, like a Spider-Man, like a Batman, those kind of characters, and just give somebody a chance to do something really special. I think there's an audience for it. I mean, there are people that pay $5 for a mocha cappuccino. There's people that will pay $10, $12 for a hamburger at BurgerFi. Why? Because they're better. And so I think that you can't replace the monthly cycle, but I think you could do more of this and do better quality books. And as someone who really doesn't read Big Two very much these days, that's my biggest issue, is that they're just cranking these things out and the quality just isn't there. I would rather read this. Not because it's not superheroes, but because it's just better quality. So if you're interested in history, if you're interested in Napoleon, if you're curious about a European style graphic novel, I would recommend this. Maybe your LCS can find it, but I said in my case, Amazon was the best choice. And again, depending on the distributor, your LCS may or may not be able to get this. I think I finally found the store that can get it. I know they're going to try, and I think they've already gotten some back issues that I've asked for one of the Cinebook releases. So if that, I would try. And if you can't find it that way, there's always Amazon, and you can cross your fingers you get something, well, something that's delivered and it's in one piece. But I really recommend this. This is just a great story. And I guess the biggest comment is that I'm looking for more from Cinebook, and I'm looking to learn more about European graphic novels. Unfortunately, I read English and a little bit of Spanish. I don't read French or Italian, or else I'd be just buying the French and Italian versions. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks.